separated. Hey, man, you're disrespecting me. Choke him out. Gotta keep them separated. Hey, pay no mind. You're under 18, you won't be doing any time. Hey, come on and play.
My name is Arturo Perez, and I'm the founder and CEO of Kludge, and we are creators and publishers of Synth writers. And we're excited to announce we have a new music pack coming out. It's basically coming from a request from our community, which they wanted to see some punk rock. We saw a lot of requests for that, so we have a new pack called Adrenaline, and it's featuring bands like The Offspring and Bad Religion, Rancid, The Interrupters, and Pennywise, and bands like that. So we have 8 songs total. And 5 of them are going to be paid DLC songs, and 3 songs are free. We try to at least give some freebies on the packs as much as we can. And so out of those, we have 2 of the Offspring songs, Self-Esteem and Come Out and Play, will be on the paid pack, as well as the Bad Religion, 21st Century Digital Boy, the Interrupters, and Rancid with their classic Time Bomb. Those are all the paid DLC, and then we have a song from Pennywise, a song from Too Close to Touch, and a song from Play Vendor for the freebies.
Do you work with the bands, or is it directly with a record label? How does that work?
Many years ago, maybe now 2 decades ago, we had Kludge was a music magazine. And so we actually got to interview a lot of punk rock bands back in the day, and there was this label called Epitaph, which is one of the classic punk rock labels owned by the guitarist from Bad Religion. So knowing that, I reached out to them directly, and they were pretty open and pretty great about it. So we compile our wish lists, and we typically what we do is we create a playlist from our end, and then we sort of share it. In this case with the label. And then kind of work with them and their suggestions, and it evolved from there. And then so they take care of what's called the master recording, so one side of the puzzle, but we still had to go and hunt for the publishing side. So that was a fun journey. We started it sometime around March or April of last year, and we're still finalizing contracts now, but we're there. We think every one of them at this point.
How far out are you planning your music packs, and are you planning things into 2022 already?
Yeah, we certainly are, and we've learned that, and I think it depends on the deal. The music industry, it's very complex, and everything is very different. So, for example, we're working on an artist music pack for one artist, and so theoretically that's simpler because you have the same group of players, but even there, you can get some songs on one publisher and some songs on another publisher. Sometimes we've even had deals change in the middle of planning them. So we try to plan as much as possible, and we also try to work with people explicitly that are simpler to work with because they own both sides, for example.
Can you go back for a minute and give me sort of how Synth Riders came about and how old it was? So when did you first come up with the idea? There's obviously a number of rhythm games out there. I'm curious how it fits into sort of the story of how it started.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great question. We started in somewhere mid 2017 is when the idea started marinating, and it was actually we had an Instagram account called Retrowave, and the idea was 80s vibe games, and so we wanted to bring the spirit of classic Atari games into VR. And our first game ever was this obscure game, called Mats, and maybe a couple hundred people downloaded it. But it was this sort of Space Invaders for VR, and actually we started in mobile VR. And Synth Riders comes out of like 3 mini games that we wanted to make, all in the 80s style. One was underwater, and the other one was like a racing game, and then there was this rhythm game with an 80s spirit. And honestly, once we started down that path, it was just very. We never finished the other games. I'll say that. It really captured us. And so, sometime around, I think our first Steam launch was somewhere in sort of mid 2018. when we launched Synth Riders officially.
You're one of the studios that has a $1 million plus earnings out of the Quest. You announced that publicly, right? How big is Quest and the wireless freedom of VR headsets to your plans going forward? Do you only want to be on wireless going forward, or wired headsets a big part of your planning?
The PCVR community is still very important to us. I'll say that the majority of our creators are still PCVR users. And so while we are seeing the percentage of users on the Quest versus everybody else continue to widen, and everything's tilting towards the Quest, our hardcore users and our creators are not those guys. And so we want to balance that out. And we, in particular, we were nothing. We came out of, a game of 200 people to Synth Riders. And if it wasn't for the community, we wouldn't be where we are. So we would never want to turn our backs on it or sort of do anything less for them.
Thinking for viewers out there that are unfamiliar with the title, are there inspirations you can call out that specifically you were trying to evoke? So
the main inspirations were Tron and Stranger Things from a visual perspective. You definitely see Tron in the game. And the main game inspiration was Thumper. The idea, the acceleration, it's a music game, but it gives you an energy and a thrill. And we wanted to build something like that. Those were, I would say, between the style of Tron and the feel of Thumper. That's what we were going for. And we definitely heard a lot of synthwave from 2017 to 2018. I think in our office, there was only synthwave, almost to a point where I was like, please, let's stop with the synthwave.
Mechanics wise and gameplay wise, what is your plan for the rest of the year, and what are you planning to do with the title?
So there's a few things. One musically, just to which I think is relevant to the question, is in the last pack we brought out Algorithm, and so in this case you mentioned Come Out and Play, and that's our next experience. And so this is a very new gameplay for us, and so in this music pack we have our second official experience. And that's been very, very interesting. We hadn't seen feedback that positive as consistently as we saw with Algorithm. And we ourselves, when we saw it, we were like, wow, this really changes the game by visually syncing, the visual experience sync to that one song or that one map. And so now we're really thinking of how to keep going with that and how to expand our experience library. It is very time consuming. It took us a good 3 weeks per experience, but we're super happy with Come Out and Play. It's a very different feel. We've also learned how different it is to go from one experience to the next. So we're kind of really experimenting there. And then we're building a story mode component or a campaign mode, and that's as usually with Synth Riders, we get pretty ambitious. We don't want to just do, a lot of people are requesting campaign mode, but we want to make something different and something special. So it's taking us some time.
What's your sense of like the breakdown of why people play Synth Riders? Is it mostly exercise? Is it music? Is it both? And how does that break down?
So we've always emphasized the fun of the game. And even, when we call ourselves like a freestyle rhythm game, sort of very, very focused on the dance, but really on putting your own element of it and in being fun. And everything about it is about accessibility and community, and just kind of not take it too seriously. I think we've done really well we have a very competitive side of Synth Riders, and we also put a lot of work into that. But at the end of the day, that's not what we are inviting you to come check out Synth Riders for. And by the way, an example of that is our Mario Kart style, update, the multiplayer update. Because it wasn't about competition. It's like go throw some modifiers on each other, and it doesn't matter what score you get. But on the other end, we are seeing, and I think we continue to see a growth in fitness, and we are talking more about that because Synth Riders is something that it's very feature rich at this point, and in order to really dial down on the fitness, you have to work for it. We're not making it as easy as we like to make it fitness optimized, because our primary focus has been on the fun. But we are seeing enough of that need that we're talking about how to make it more easier to go just into fitness mode, if that's what you like.
Have you found any artists that know VR themselves or are playing rhythm games or synth riders specifically? And is it, it's one of these things where I wonder whether it's actually reaching the artists themselves in any way. And do you have any sense of whether VR is breaking through to artists on that level?
We do have artists that are actually checking out VR, and we've had, on the Cyberpunk pack from Monster Cat, there was at least one of those artists who came to our Discord and said hello, and is an active player. And with our Electro Swing pack, a few of those artists have gotten headsets. Some of them as a result of us putting them on the game, but some of them already knew VR. With Muse, we sent Matthew a headset, and I think it's happening right now. So just to get Muse into it, but they knew VR. They've done things in VR before, but it wasn't like they had one just to check it out. And what we're seeing more than anything is that people are more aware of VR. So like last year, I would approach an artist and be like, we're this rhythm game in VR, and for them, I might as well have said Nintendo or arcades. Like it really made no difference. Now they're like, oh, you're in VR? Yeah, we've heard of that Oculus thing, and we want to be a part of it. So it's getting easier for us to get artists as a result of the VR buzz growing inside of music, and especially with COVID.
Is there anything else you want to add about the announcement of this music pack and about synth riders in the next 6 months? We
put a lot of love on the mappers, and I want to give a shout out to our mappers who came from the community and made this pack very special. I think we try to push the limit with every music pack, not just in the music, but also in how we map it. And this one, which has a little bit of combination of spunk and ska, there was, because the songs were older and because they're not electronic necessarily, like there was a lot of caution at the beginning of like, is this going to work? But they've done a marvelous job. So I hope everybody gets to check them out and see a little bit of that on them. And then the other thing I'll say to mapping is that we are adding in the editor coming soon is going to be how to allow people to make their own experiences. So going back to that visual journey that we're taking, players on more and more, we're bringing that to our editor as well. So pretty excited about that.